welcome back to another episode of our Not So Simple Lives podcast. And if you guys listened to the last episode, we were saying how, like, June gloom, you never know what you're going to get. And this is exactly the embodiment of that.
It's a prime example.
It's a prime example because now it's all rainy and gloomy. And I don't know, it's just so weird. I feel like I don't want to say culture shock, weather shock, maybe. I don't know. But growing up in Chicago, I feel like June was always so, like, sunny and bright. And I feel like it's just a weird adjustment. I mean, I'm not complaining at all because of the rest of the year here is so much better. But I feel like just June, I feel like I'm just always expecting sun.
And I think in the Midwest too, like, people automatically assume June is the beginning of summer. Like, it's like, oh, summer's began because it's so, like, it's definitely warmer, it's more sunny, it's more, like, vibrant outside, like, all the leaves on the trees are coming back.
Yes, I love when that happens.
You know, so it's, like, funny because it seems like every other day it's either really sunny and hot, or it's how it is right now, which is very cloudy, gloomy, and sprinkling outside.
And it's hard to get motivated on days like this. Like, who in San Diego can relate? You know, like on the mornings when you wake up and I know this is like SD problems, you know, but you wake up and it's just so cold and gloomy. And you're just like, and you just keep hitting like snooze, you know?
It's because
that was kind of me this morning.
It's because we're spoiled because we're used to.
We really are.
We're used to, you know, the sunny weather every day. So when it's not sunny, like, that's another thing I've realized, like, living here, like, especially with, like, work, if it's rainy or cloudy or, like, anything like that, people call out. Like,
really?
Yes.
Wow,
they call out
that's extreme.
They call out because they're probably, like, the weather, you know, obviously kind of makes you feel, like you said, unmotivated, so people are more tired, harder for them to get up in the morning, so they call out, you know. And I mean,
I just remember the days of getting up for school, like high school or even like community college, and had my 8 a.m. class, and it was like the dead of winter, and it was like freaking -10 degrees.
No, I know. Like,
and I was like, it was pitch black and like -10, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, physically, I cannot do this, you know. And it was funny because like one of my best friends and I were in the same classes, and we would text each other in the morning and be like, so should we like just not go? I was so bad in community college.
Oh my gosh.
Because I feel like me and my friends were like, well, me and my one really good friend were always like, we were always in the same classes, and we were like, we should just not go, right?
Should we, like, not?
Let's just not go. Like, I feel like we were in, what was it? Like, we were in like a science class, and I think we like missed more classes than we went to.
Oh, I'm sure.
And this conversation is very relevant because today we're talking about school and like our school journeys, specifically my school journey, because, you know, if you listen to our last episode, we talked about Delaney and like mostly centered around you and like the breakups and stuff. And that's what she was going through in 2020 when we started our Not So Simple Life podcast. And for me, the getting to know me episode that we did, I was talking about my school struggle. And if you know me personally, you're like, wow, it's like, I love a good full circle moment because now, fast forward, I'm a month out from just having graduated with my bachelor's degree. So it's just kind of crazy how much can change in 5 years. Like I said, I wish we could go back and listen to those episodes. I wish I did, because then I could actually hear like what I was saying or like what I was actually going through and hear it in my voice. But I just remember 2020 was a really weird time. I mean, it was for everybody because we were in the pandemic.
I was like, there was definitely, I know for a fact, for both you and me, like, specifically, I know for myself, but I know for you too, because you were talking about your struggles with school, but I know there was pain in our voices. Like, we were upset.
Well, because we were what, like 24 at the time?
No. Really?
5 years, math. Yes, 24,
yes,
because we're 29 now. Oop, I just outed our age. Sorry.
29
and fine. Holla. But yeah, so 5 years ago, we were 24. And I feel like it we'll get into more of like age stuff like in the future of the podcast, but I feel like at 24 you start to really feel kind of old, which now obviously in retrospect I'm like you were so young. But I feel
Mhm.
like watching all of my friends like graduate and move on with their lives, get settled in their careers, I felt very behind. And I was always really good at school, so I was always like, the one that everyone was like, "Oh yeah, like of course he's going to like go on to college and get a degree." And so I feel like I let people down too, and I let myself down in that aspect, but it was a weird journey with school for me. I mean,
Yeah.
like I feel like at the time in 2020 I was just so like just lost because I was like, well, I know I should go to school. I know I should get a degree, but I'm like I don't feel like
I think
that's in my path right now.
I think you felt
I felt
discouraged.
very discouraged because of what
Yeah.
just happened at one university. So I was on the right path, I
Yeah.
guess. Well, I don't want to say the right path because our journeys led us to this.
Mhm.
If I would have just gone to college and done all that, I never would have been able to accomplish everything we
I
have
feel
accomplished.
I feel like life would be a lot different for you right
Life
now.
would be incredibly different and I wouldn't change it, but I just feel like, I mean, it's the struggle that defines more of your character, or like,
We probably wouldn't be like
no,
here right now if that
we wouldn't be
happened.
doing this if like I would have just continued on. So,
Yeah.
it was just Chris. So I graduated high school and then directly went to a community college, my local community college. And I went through the motions and, got my associate's degree from Harper College. And then I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to take a year off. And every time I say you take a year off, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. It's
Oh,
never a year off because then
honey,
it's
I said
like,
I was going to take a year off and I never went back.
right. You never go back. That's the thing. It's like you say, I'm going to take a year off. A year turns to like 2 years. 2 years turns to 3 years. Because once you get out of the swing of things, once you get out of the motion of
Like
like
or it turns into
that
10.
routine, 10, right, or never,
Right.
but once you get out of the motion of doing school, I feel like it's hard to get back into the swing of things. Because if
Absolutely.
you are very like regimented, you have a strict routine when you're in school, like your schedule is very consistent each week. You know that you have to devote a lot of time to doing homework, writing papers, studying for tests. It's a lot.
Right.
So I ended up taking, I think it was like a year, 2 years. I think I took 2 years off. I tried actually. I did take just a year off or like 8 months off. I tried to go back because I graduated in December of 2016 with my
Mhm.
associate's degree. And then I think it was either 2017 or 2018. I don't remember. It was one of those years.
One of
No,
those.
2018. So I took like 2 years off.
Mhm.
I went to a college in Illinois and I thought I wanted to do business. And so
You went to another
I
college
yeah,
other than
so
Harper?
yeah, so I graduated from Harper
I didn't know
in 2018 fall. I enrolled in Benedictine University in
that. Oh.
Illinois. I forgot what town it is. It was by Naperville kind of.
I was like I feel like I've heard of that college.
It was a beautiful campus, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was not in the right headspace to go back cuz I was starting to go through that breakup during that time or things were
Mm.
really getting rocky. So I was already dealing with that. And I was dealing with the societal pressures of everyone telling me, like, you have to go back to school. Like, don't forget to go back to school. And so I was going back to please other people at the wrong time for the wrong major.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is it. I'm gonna do it, and then the first, I want to say it was either first day or second day of classes. I like completely had like a breakdown. I was sitting and I think first of all the classroom I remember was very like old and I think it had windows and I was sitting there and I think it was accounting. And
Mhm.
I'm really good at math, but when it comes to business, I feel like I'm not so savvy. I'm definitely a comm major. That's definitely my calling. And I remember the first day of class, the teacher writes on the board like 5 assignments to do before the next class, which was in 2 days.
Oh my god.
And I remember feeling so overwhelmed and like feeling like, oh my God, this is so much. I don't even have the textbook yet. Like, it had been 2 years since I had even gone to school. So, trying to get back into the swing. And usually, the first day, like, is just kind of syllabus day where you go through the syllabus. Like,
Yeah.
is everyone doing okay? No, this teacher was a little brutal. And I remember calling up the person that was helping me. I forgot what they're called. And I was saying, I was like, I don't think I can do it. I think I have to drop out. And they were like, Are you sure? And I was like, Yeah, I'm just way too overwhelmed right now. And so I just
Mhm.
went and I never went back. And it was like a 30-minute drive, maybe like 40 from my house. So now that's not
Yeah.
bad. But when I was that young, I feel like it seemed like a long
I
way.
I feel like for school that's kind of a far
When
commute.
you have to go, I think I was going 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's far.
It was far. And so
Cause it's like a job, you know.
it
You're
is, yeah.
traveling you know, cause what you're in Schaumburg and it was near Naperville. That's easily a
Mm-hmm.
40-minute drive. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. It's probably a 35-40 minute drive, like probably without traffic.
So then
So
I stopped going, went through my breakup, and then I went back to Harper
uh huh.
because of another one of my best friends was studying to be a comm major at Harper.
Hmm.
And I was like, maybe this is the right path for me. So I took like a intro to PR class and a journalism class at Harper. I went back to Harper. They were prerequisites to get into a communication program at a university. And I remember I sat down and I was like, this is it. I was like, I love this. So I
Yeah.
was like, this is it. I got really good grades. I even got one of my articles that I wrote for journalism published in the school newspaper. So I
Yeah.
was feeling really confident. I moved to San Diego. I registered at USD and I was like 24, 23, going on 24. And
Hmm.
I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going back to school, and I was so excited. Went to USD, got a job on campus, loved the campus. It was beautiful. And then, I just like it ended up being too expensive. I didn't ask. It was me being young and stupid. I was considered too old for a Parent Plus loan. And I didn't ask enough
Mm.
questions because I was just like, everything with school for me had always just been done for me, like my
Yeah.
parents just kind of paid for community college. And so I didn't have to really worry about it.
And
So I was
that's
sitting in these things and I was like
yeah.
listening, but I was only like half listening, I
And I
guess.
feel like that's kind of ridiculous with how much, college is. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
someone shouldn't be too old to not be able to get a parent loan because it's like
Right.
that's
For
that
24 to I was like,
I was like
damn, you're
that's
wild.
it's so expensive. I mean, most colleges are expensive. Like the only colleges that are realistic that you can most likely pay is community college.
Well, that's why I thought I
And
was ignorant. I was like, oh, like it can't be too expensive, like it's gonna be okay. And then I ended up getting this big bill, and I was like,
oh.
oh my god, we were like, we can't afford this. And so that was why I had to end up. I tried really hard to like, finish out my time there. Like I ended up talking to one of like the deans of the schools, and there's nothing they could really do for me. Honestly, I don't blame the university at all. It was completely my fault. I should have asked the right questions. I should have been more like in touch with everything and done more research, but I was just very young and dumb. And so
I feel like if you get the opportunity to go to, a university like that, you're gonna take it and not
yeah, I got
and
accepted, which was a good thing because, it's like a private university. So I was
it's
like, okay, cool.
universities in general, I feel like are, I mean, depending on them and their like rankings and stuff and their acceptance rates, like
Hmm.
USD is a hard school to get into. I
Yeah,
feel like.
and also what I want to say is that I remember what it was one thing I was really like talking about in that episode back in 2020, and I was talking about how some universities, what you take at community college doesn't carry over. So they were wanting me to
Yes.
retake some classes I had already taken, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that, So it's a whole thing. When you transfer colleges, it's very difficult. They try and make it as easy as possible. They try and make you feel welcome. They did a great job. I loved the campus. It was beautiful. And it was a great welcome to San Diego sort of thing where I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like I was really embraced in like the San Diego sort of culture.
Right.
So I don't regret it at all.
No.
And
And
those credits went
yeah.
towards my degree anyway. They transferred over. So,
Right. And you know what? Obviously, it wasn't meant to be, and we know why now,
mhm.
because we should talk about the school that you did just graduate from.
Here it is. I mean, I got it on the mug. If you're watching us on YouTube, you saw me point to my mug, which I'm drinking water out of, but it's okay. You might think I'm drinking coffee, but nope, it's water.
And
Um,
this is not Mountain Dew. It is a Celsius.
you got Mountain Dew early in the morning.
People are probably like, "What the heck is she drinking? Why is it yellow?"
Yellow with
It's
bubbles.
it is a energy drink. I'm not gonna say what one because yes.
Exactly. So I want to talk about the story a little bit of how I ended up landing at PLNU, which is where I graduated from. So I
Maybe
years.
tell everyone what PLNU stands
Okay,
for.
so it's Point Loma Nazarene University.
Okay.
And it was funny because I accidentally turned into the campus one time. When
Oh
me and my
really?
friend were going to see a sunset, we accidentally made a wrong turn and turned into the campus and we're like, what is this school? Like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, this is cool. It's like a hidden gem. Like it's because it kind of is. Like it's in the middle of kind of like a
It's kind of like
community development,
it's like low key like on a cliff.
It's on a cliff, and so
Yeah.
I was saying how like USD was beautiful. PLNU was so beautiful because it was right on the ocean.
Mhm.
So I turned into this campus and I was looking at this, I was seeing all the students, and I was like, this is so like crazy. And you go down the mountain, and then there's like this like deck where there's a parking lot and you can sit and watch the sunset, which a lot of people do.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, this is really cool. But
But you had no idea what it was.
I had no idea really what it was. I was like, this seems random. I never heard of this before. So I was working a job downtown that I started, and I had always wanted to work like on the water. And I had worked in the city once before, but I missed working in the city. So I started this job, and I was like, okay, that's it. Like, I love the aesthetic of this place. I'm just gonna try and become a manager at this place downtown and just stay in the service industry. And that's it. That's my journey. I had just, you know, decided that that was what my future was gonna be
Yeah.
because I had been in the service industry for so long, and I was like, well, things just don't keep working out. So this is what I'm gonna do. So, that ended up not working out either.
Yeah.
So things were happening at that job, and I had started to realize that, yeah, this isn't going to be for me. So, on a whim, I was sitting on my break on a bench, and I was right by the ocean. And I had Googled because after COVID, a lot of universities started doing those online degrees where you can get a
Mhm.
degree online. So I Googled Harper College like communications degree or bachelor's degree because I had known that Harper College, where I got my associate's degree from, was gonna be doing like they wanted to become like a university and give out bachelor's degrees.
Right.
So I was like, maybe they started doing that. Let's just see. Because my issue was the credit's not transferring over.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I Googled that and tell me why PLNU popped up first in the search results. It was the first one that popped up.
It just was meant to be.
It's really weird because I was like, what is PLNU? Accelerated Adult Undergraduate Studies. I literally hadn't even Googled PLNU anything. Like, I literally Googled Harper College,
Yeah.
and PLNU was the first search result to pop up. And then I clicked it, and I think I was doing this in November. And little did I know the deadline was like December.
Oh wow.
So I started like I sent an inquiry. I was like, all right, let me just send an inquiry. Let me see. I didn't have high expectations because I was like, they're probably gonna say that something doesn't transfer over or something. So everything happened really fast,
Mhm.
and things fell over like dominoes, like very easy.
Yeah.
Like it was very, very easy. Someone was closely working with me. They were like guiding me through the process. They were breaking down how much everything was going to cost. And I felt very supported. And they were very, very friendly over there. And I was like, this is so easy. And then they sent the thing. They were gonna, look at my transcripts, and they're like, we're gonna let you know how many credits transfer over. And I was thinking, oh God, here we
You're
go.
like, oh great.
I was
here
like,
we
everything's
go."
so easy, but I was like, here we go. Like,
Let's
oh,
not
I'm
jinx it.
nervous. Right. I wasn't trying to jinx it, but I was just like, you know, not getting my hopes up too high
Yeah.
because I was like, well, I don't want to be disappointed.
Mhm.
So then they say that I want to say it was almost all of my credits that they accepted. So instantly I was like, what? I was like, they're accepting like almost all my credits. So it was affordable. They were accepting all my credits. It was online, which I had reservations about doing classes online. I know a lot of people do because I was like, it's you have to be very self motivated to do an online class.
Yeah.
There's no one telling you like, you're not sitting in class and the teacher isn't like reminding you every day, like, don't forget this paper is due in 2 days.
Oh,
You really have to keep
yeah.
track of your deadlines. No one's holding your hand. And that was like the hardest part with starting
I
because I
was
was like, oh God, I really have
See,
to be.
I think that's what I would struggle with. Like, I would love to do online. Like, I would not want to go in person, especially at this age. I'm not going,
At this
not
age,
going in
at this
person
ripe age.
at this ripe age. But yeah, I wouldn't want to go in and sit in the classroom with a bunch of
21 year
kids.
olds,
I'm
yeah.
like with a bunch of kids, like no thanks.
No.
So I would want to do it online, but that would be like the hardest thing for me is being like aware of everything and knowing when things are due. And I'm someone who's like, I need reminders. Like, I need people to be telling me, like, okay, make sure this is done by tomorrow, or make sure, like, this is done. Like, I need, like, the reminders, or else I'm going to forget because
Well,
I have
there
a
is like a
million other
calendar thing
things.
where you can like keep it all queued up in your calendar, but I just took a mental note of it and I kept my sheets where I would like keep track of my dates and everything to make sure I wasn't missing deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something that's different, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to handle it because at that point, when I went back, it was like 4 years since I'd been in school, 3.5 to 4. So I was like, am I even going to be able to do this again? And so, but I did it. It was a lot of work, but
But you're like I have to say, you are probably the most incredibly self-disciplined person that I know in my life because
oh my
you,
God, I try.
the way that like you went through college and did all your classes and how like you were like I have to, you would dedicate certain times to do it and you wouldn't be like, oh, like it's okay. Like I'm not going to do, maybe I'll do it another time. And maybe you did do that,
I do
but
that
you
sometimes.
still got all your stuff done. And it,
Well,
like all the time, you always, hit the deadlines and did everything like that. I don't feel like I could be like that. You know what I
it's
mean?
I think it's about like just kind of like setting those, like, I think for me what I did and how I handled it is getting ahead of things.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I don't have anything due for 3 days now. So if I want to take a mental health day or I'm not feeling well or I'm not feeling like doing something or like a friend wants to go get lunch or something, I have that wiggle room to be
Mhm.
like, okay, I don't have to necessarily do this today. But giving yourself at least a 3 to 4 day, even like 2 day head start on everything
Mhm.
is really, really beneficial when you're going to online classes. Because for me, I didn't have lecture. It's a different type of online class.
Yeah.
It was just, we had a professor, every class was 8 weeks, and you would just have these modules you'd have to complete. You'd have to read a certain amount of pages in your textbook, watch these videos, and then you would just have to complete either quizzes, papers, assignments, all of this other stuff. So yes, we did have a professor who was there. If you needed questions answered, you could just email them. But it's not like I was sitting in a lecture at a scheduled time,
Yeah.
which was also different. I was like, oh, this is unique. But that's just kind of how school is now. I
Yeah.
feel for some people because of since COVID, they're like, okay, we can do it this way.
Yeah.
And it's a little easier for, like, I guess the professors to not have to record all these different lectures.
Right. And I feel like that's another reason why you're so self-disciplined. Like when you were in school, it's like h- your classes were only 8 weeks long. Like like that's only what, 2 months?
Yeah, everything was
Two,
very condensed.
that's crazy. And so
And yeah,
you're having to do like, assignments, tests every single week by certain deadlines. And with a class going that fast, I'm a slow learner.
well,
Like,
yeah,
and
it's
so
hard.
I like, yes, on paper it sounds perfect. You're online, you're doing 8-week classes, so it's going to be fast. So you can finish the class fast. But as far as actually learning the material, that's what I would be worried
It
about
was
personally.
definitely hard teaching myself initially the stuff because you're reading a textbook and you're reading through what the professor says, and sometimes it could be like difficult or you feel lost or you're like, okay, I don't know if I'm really getting this. But I
Mhm.
was taking two classes at a time and they were both accelerated. So I was like, well, I have to get it,
You gotta keep
You
going.
got to keep going. And then, well, sometimes things will make sense. Like if you read further in the textbook or something, you're like, oh, okay, like understand and I get that a little bit
Right.
more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just very different, very unique. And I think that through my story, like through telling my story, I think there's a lot of people out there that I know that are like, ugh, like I think it's too late for me to go back to school or like this I've always wanted to do this, but like is it too late? And I'm always like, no, it's never too late.
It's not.
As long as you're still breathing, as long as
Yeah.
you're still here, like it's never too late,
If
you
that
know?
I would say like if that's something like you like regret that you know maybe you didn't finish school or you never went to school and you're like almost 30 like
Mhm.
us, like we're almost 30, like it's never too late to go back if you it's a goal. Like if you want something, you have to do the things in order to get there.
Right.
And like me personally, like I haven't been in school for probably, over 10 years. Like it's probably like 11 years now. Well,
Mhm.
actually maybe it was like maybe like 8 years cuz I did go to like community college for like maybe like a year and a half ish.
Mhm.
Um but I'm at a place right now where like I'm in a completely new job field that I haven't been in. Like I've been in retail and food for the past 10 years, if not more than that. And I definitely pivoted careers into something I never thought I was ever going to do. But I ended up actually I really love it and
Uh-huh.
I'm like okay, like if I have to settle for something, I could settle for
We
this.
both went back to school, but in different ways. While we were on
Yeah.
our little like kind of hiatus from the podcast, a little break,
For
you know.
anyone that doesn't know, I am a teacher. I
Mhm.
work for a nonprofit company. I'm not going to name the company. It's like if you know, you know. But I work with kids every day. And I was like, anyone who's known me, especially my past, you're probably like, what? Like, why would
Yeah.
you ever do that? Like, you're not someone that really like likes kids. And it's like, that definitely like pivoted for me. Like, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like try this out and see like what happens because I'm like, I need to change this up.
Yeah.
This is not it. And so I tried it and I'm like, one, I really love the company I work for. They're the best company I've ever worked for out of all the jobs I've ever had and all the companies I've ever worked for. This is by far like takes the cake. And then on top of it, like I don't know, like maybe it's my Leo moon. Like I
Mm.
love like I get to play with these kids for like, you know, like 5 6 hours a day, but like obviously broken up in. But
Right.
it's like I'm literally playing and getting paid.
It doesn't feel like work to you,
No, because it's
you
like,
know?
think about it. Like, if you have like nieces or nephews or like, friends that have kids of yours, like, if you ever get asked to babysit, I don't feel like that feels like a job, especially if you like really love them and you're like excited and you want to spend time with them. You're like, no, I'm gonna like sugar them up and like have them, give them
Right.
a good time. And that's what I feel like when I am at school. But obviously that comes with, there are some hard times when, there's, difficult behaviors and stuff going on. But you learn how to deal with that and it's not something I reflect on and like sit on and I'm like, oh my god, this is so difficult because there's so many other moments that make up for those bad
And
moments.
everything's gonna have highs and lows. Nothing's
Yeah.
ever gonna be like completely perfect. Nothing's ever gonna
Right.
be like, oh, this has no issues at all. Like, I'm so happy. There's always challenges no matter what you do in life.
Right.
And I think for me, like, when I finally walked across the stage, graduating with my bachelor's degree, I was like, wow. It was just one of those like surreal moments for me
Yeah.
where, I was in this like kind of stadium sort of vibe. And you just walk across the stage and you get your diploma and you're just like, wow, like I actually just did that.
No,
You know?
seriously. I feel like it it's like a fever dream probably. You're like, "Oh my god, this is
Yeah.
like actually happening." And it's like I am thinking about going back to school
Mm-hmm.
because I do want to maybe move up in where I am right now, and that requires taking, like 3 or 4 classes to get the certain amount of units to get to, the position level that I would need.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something I'm considering doing right now. And I feel like some people that are probably listening can relate. It's like, oh, like I haven't been in school for so long.
Yeah.
How is that going to be for me? Am I going to be able to do that? And my thought process is like, okay, if I need to take these 4 classes, I'm going to enroll it in one at a time.
Take it slow.
I'm not in a hurry. I mean,
No.
like, yeah, do I want that ranking? Sure, but I want to do it the right way. And for me, the right way is I'm going to take one class at a time, make sure I pass every class, make sure I actually retain the information and I'm learning because I want to learn. I'm
Mm-hmm.
someone that I am really good at learning. It just sometimes for me, like textbook wise, takes me a little longer to understand. I tend to notice I learn a lot better when I self teach myself. Like when I
Yeah.
like do my own research into things, I learn better like when I'm teaching myself by reading what I want to read and stuff like that, which I feel like is like kind of a strength of mine because then I really can be really smart in the area that I'm trying to learn about.
Yeah, I think everyone just does it differently. And
Yeah.
I feel like if you are considering going back to school, or it could be anything like changing careers, whatever, I think that the moral of the story is just do it, just try it. I mean, there's no like I feel like there's always that stigma of like, oh, you failed. No, well, you just don't really fail. You learn and then you
Mhm.
pivot. Like what happened with me. Like I kept not giving up on school. Like it was always in the back of my mind. I was always like, I want to do this. So I kept trying it and then eventually it worked out.
Right.
So if anything, if you could take away from my story, whether it's school or not, like just try something out. And if it doesn't work out, at least you can say you tried.
Yeah, and you
And
can
that's the
tell
moral
that
of the
like
story.
Eric, you went through so many obstacles
Yeah.
going through your school journey. So that's for people that are listening. Like if you have experienced a lot of obstacles or just things that are getting in the way, like don't let that discourage you because if you keep going and you pivot and you find out solutions, you're going to graduate. You're
Yeah,
going to
and
get where
you
you
might
want to
just
be.
haven't found your right place. Like maybe
Mhm.
you're trying out the wrong schools, like I
Yeah.
was, or the wrong career major, like I did.
Some
Maybe you're
things aren't
trying
meant
out
to be, you
yeah,
know?
and then and then you find something else that's completely you had no idea it even existed and then it just falls into your lap like what happened to me.
Right.
So, call it a God sighting, call it the universe, call it whatever you believe in, but whatever I did that day and I was in such a lost state of mind and I googled that and it popped up like that was divine intervention to me. Like there's no way that that just happened like on a whim.
Right.
Like it has to be something and I feel like trust your signs that you see like if you are looking for something, if you're looking for a change and just ask for signs, really meditate on it, believe in it and just keep a watchful eye out for those signs.
Yeah.
But guys, you know the drill. Follow us on that Instagram at our Not So Simple Lives pod and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on
Yeah.
YouTube. Hey, thank
Hit
you.
that like button
Hit
and subscribe.
hit like, subscribe, all
And
that.
make sure you comment. What
Comments.
are you in school? Are you trying to go to school? Are you trying to get back into school? Let us know because there most likely there's so many other people that are going through this situation and if you like again, if you need somewhere to vent, talk to the people in the comments. Talk, you guys make friends. Talk
Mm-hmm.
and encourage each other to go back to school or apply to that school that you want to get into. You know, nothing is not possible. You just have to do the things to get there.
Exactly. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify. I keep forgetting, I'm like, what do we have to say? Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple,
just
podcasts,
just
all the
follow us on all the
things.
things,
All the
okay?
things. Give
Keep
us
up
your
with us.
feedback. Thank you guys. We love you. Thank you for your support and have a great day.